Hello, friends. It's so exciting to be back with you today. Today, I'd like to talk about the Schumann resonance energy in the chart, and then I'd like to do an inspired energy short discussion about the mind. There is a fascinating, incredible energy in the chart today, and that is that the green quality spiked to, I think, 280. It's incredibly huge. I'm going to show you that right here behind the scenes. Oh, it was 260. So right here, the quality just went like a mountaintop, just soared upward. And before that, it had soared all the way to 156. Now, these kind of numbers, you don't see them very often. I mean, maybe once a year it might go to 150, or once a year it might... Actually, I don't know if I've seen it this high. Maybe one time it was over 200 in the last couple of years. Now I could have missed a day, okay? But I'm just saying that this is something to be noted. The qualities of all the other resonances were, pretty much in the range, normal, maybe even, I'd say in the range. But I want to focus on this because it is incredible. Now, the quality is like the clarity of the resonance. So we're looking at 4 resonances here, each differentiated on the chart by color. And the resonances are basically in the non-physical energy around us, from where we stand at our feet, the top of the ground, up to the top of the air, right, the atmosphere. And so the hertz range of these resonances is from 0 to 40 hertz, which is also coincidentally the hertz range for our brain waves. And they can slightly go over 40 hertz, and our brain waves can go over slightly 40 hertz. But the chart measures that range, okay? Now, the quality would be the clearness. So, like, if I was to relate this in layman's terms to music, it would be like if a note just pinged clear. Ooh, I have my bowl here today. Let's do that. A beautiful, clear tone, okay? Now, if this tone became distorted in any way, like, where it starts to go out, like flatten across a range of distorted tones, that would be a low quality, and a beautiful, clear tone would be a high quality. So how I relate this to the human energy field and to us, right? Because on an individual basis, what does this mean for you? Sorry about that. That's my phone, which I'm going to now turn off. Oh my God. Hold on one sec here. Oops, it's not. Dang it. Okay, sorry about that. Someone mentioned about the tones, blah, blah. Can you, turn them off? And I'm just like, when I don't remember to turn them off, and then that happens, to me, it's kind of like I'm flowing with the energies, and I say something, and then it's like there's an energy that highlights that by pinging me through my phone. Isn't it interesting? Because this is so important. But anyway, so the reason it's so important is because it's basically like the green, in my view, representing the human condition, okay, or in general humanity. The quality so strong for hours at a time here, okay? And who knows what happened in this blank space where we have no data. But what this means is that you have been like empowered with the energy to really get in touch in these times right now, in this energy, with your true path, your soul purpose. Like it's a time when you could really gain clarity. The natural energies in the environment are supporting us getting clarity with what we really want. And I'm not talking about mental calculations here. I'm talking about from like a soul level perspective. I'm not talking about mind or emotion. I'm talking about your connection with God. Like, this is a time when you can commune with that divine force through prayer, through meditation, through energy work at 0 point, okay? All of those things I equate with achieving the same state of energy in your energy field, the same state of being, of connectedness with the source of all that is, the creator. But this is a time when you can connect and really get clear messages. And now I'm quickly show you the amplitude was really nothing to write home about. Probably a good thing, because look, we're down here very low amplitudes for the green. If this amplitude spiked while the quality was so strong, we could only imagine what might happen. And by that, I mean that it might be hard for some people to handle. That's all I mean, okay? These energies themselves are so intense. Like, I've got to tell you something. Since it was March 11th, okay, 2 days before the new moon on March 13th, something has been going on for me. And it's part of why I took a break doing videos. I needed a rest. Just something incredible has been going on, and I haven't been able to put words around it yet. And when I do, I'll share that with you. So right now, for me, it's a little bit in the shadow territories, but a little bit not, because it relates to me connecting with my true purpose and receiving guidance about what do I really need to do. Like, just where I'm at right now is I'm getting the message. Like, I really need to carve out the space for me to create. As I interact with people, I really need to think about how does this work for me as well, okay? And to take care of my health, my physical human body, which is so important. When you focus a lot on energy, which a lot of you do because you're here listening to something about the Schumann resonance and energy, we forget how important the physical form is. But if I want to be able to talk, work, visit, experience this with you, with myself, with people that are close to me, if I want to experience my life as a human being, I want my physical form to be in top condition. And so these are just some of the messages that I'm getting in these energies. And I tend to get it early, so it doesn't surprise me that I've been just in this whoa energy of, oh my God, what is going on? Plus getting clear messages for myself with the quality peaking so high now. It's incredible. Obviously, I'm excited about it. Now, look what happened here. As the qualities are peaking, you have the green resonance move to its highs. Now, this isn't the very high end of the range, 27, but it's really way up there. I mean, there's movement as well in some of the others, but I just want to focus on this because this is really significant that the quality peaked so high and at this end of our range. And that means something, and I don't know exactly what it means, to be honest. I'm just kind of collecting data points on this part of it, because I talked a lot in my video about the technology effect, the deep dive. That's the first video in that playlist. And I explained about how I call it like a signature when for any one moment in time, okay, the frequency, the amplitude, the quality, they're all at a certain number, okay, for lack of a better description, plus whatever else is going on with these resonances that we can't measure, because I do feel that there are aspects here happening that I talk to, and I will say, I don't think we can measure this yet, but this is my sense of it, like interdimensional effects, for example, and possibly other effects. But all of those for any moment in time coming together, in my view, creates a signature. It's kind of like key codes, okay? So something is going on for us at the signature that includes a very high frequency in the green resonance and a very high quality. So, like I said, one could probably dedicate their whole life to just really combing through the data and trying to connect it with human events and, geomagnetic events and solar system events and sun events and all of that. But this is an incredible time, bottom lining it here. Now, in my last video, I talked about the flags and unity and looking at unity from a 0-point perspective. Now, what I want to talk about is here in this image that came up yesterday. I'm going to talk about what I see, and probably most of you I don't know if you'll be able to see it, okay? But what I see here, and I'm just going to adjust the colors a little bit because I want to see if I can up the colors for a second. What I see here in here is a being, okay? Its head is here, or its body is here, and then it's almost like it has a tail. It's green, and it's walking forward in the chart, okay? And what this reminded me of, I'm just going to see if I can just adjust some things here, was like the idea of a reptilian brain. If there was an idea of a reptilian being, a humanoid being or a warrior that represents our reptilian brain, well, that's it right here, okay? That's what I see here. It's very much in shadow, okay? And it's walking through the chart, okay? It's walking towards something, okay? Then we have no data here, and then we have this huge spike in the green quality, which is the human, okay? So now I'm seeing a green image of a reptile, but but the green represents in general humanity, and we do have in our brain an ancient part of the brain that scientists call the reptilian brain. So at any rate, what does this mean, right? I just thought it was fascinating because I saw this yesterday, and I was trying to play with the colors to make it pop, but I can't make it pop. It is 100%, I'm just reverting it back to its original image. 100% it is behind the scenes, okay? It's a subtle force in the background, lurking in the shadow realms. And as it moves forward, does this represent some of the flag imagery that I've been talking about? Maybe, I don't know. But what was interesting is that these two lines occur in green. Okay, so you've got this tail wrapping around, you've got this staircase up, and I talked about the staircase effect. Now, images in energy have multiple layers of meaning. I don't want to go into why that is because I want to make this a shorter video, but it's valid that they have multiple layers of meaning. And part of the reason is what I was talking about yesterday. I was talking about zeros and ones and how you can't have in a computer only the zeros or only the ones. They need each other. Okay. So the shadow and the light makes the wholeness of our reality. Okay. And so we need even the shadow figures. Okay. Even the shadow elements. We need our reptilian brain. Okay. That's like a part of our mind. You can't just remove it. Okay. Ew, that would be gross. You can't do brain surgery and then hope to be, the same type of human that you are right now. So we need these aspects, okay? And these influences on our culture and societies are what they are without judgment. I just say that. They are what they are, okay? And everybody has talked about negatives about these energies, but the fact is they have made humanity stronger, and they have made humanity smarter, and they have made humanity more strategic. And there are various reasons for this, but I don't want to go into that right now. Now, so the staircase, as I said before, the day before when it happened, actually it was 2 days before now, what I said was that there was an element of it that appeared unnatural. And so so here it happens again. And then what happens here? When we pop our quality, when humanity pops its quality, we are suddenly bang on right here. It's not often that you see the green so prominent in these higher hertz like this, okay? And a higher quality a higher quality in green does tend to create interesting images, okay, in green in the higher frequencies of the chart. And I believe that's what happened here. So this is like a leading up to that. And what it looks like to me, okay, my question for us here is, has our consciousness, our conscious awareness actively moved to higher brain levels? I talked about this a couple of videos ago where I explained how on average our brain hertz that we are using as living human beings could on average move up because a lot of people ask me about, how are the numbers and how's the chart going to change with ascension? Well, if we are moving our brainwaves up into here's the spiritual here in the high gamma, if we're able to hold higher beta, higher gamma states for longer periods during the day, or even hold them at all, okay, in our waking consciousness, which would be being able to conduct your life in a more prayerful state, being able connected with God, being able to conduct your life, not just sitting meditating and being centered, but then walking through your day. Buddha said that enlightenment is the hardest for the householder, right? I know that's not the exact sentence, but that's basically what he said. Well, we're in a time when now the householder, the average person, you and me, can expand our consciousness, increase our awareness, and carry that in our day-to-day, and be a householder, be a regular person living in a home with family, with jobs, with extended family that are crazy sometimes, or actively opposed, to what's going on. I got a letter from someone like that. Oh, it touched my heart. But anyway, so recently, okay, so if we could, on average, increase the hertz that we're using in our brain, that would be a visible sign of ascension, right? And look what happened, literally. The coincidences are just so amazing. It just fills me with wonder. But I literally made that video like 2 videos ago, and now here we have the green, okay? Fully stair-stepped up, like landed right here at the high beta, okay? Levels of brainwave hertz, coincidental, so this image and the levels of hertz coincide with about 30 to 32, that's high beta, and high gamma starts somewhere around here, okay? So we're getting up towards that. Isn't this incredible? So if you've been buzzing, if major symptoms have been coming up for you, I believe this is what's happening. Now here, to get back to this green image in shadow, I believe what's happening is the reptilian brain, okay, that energy that has been among us and present even in the human form, is trying to come along with us. All right, so that's why. Can the stair step represent humans ascending in consciousness? Sure. I agree with that. Many people in the comments talked about, I think it's, that kind of thing. And I agree. I agree that it could be that. I explained why I thought that there was an unnatural aspect to that. So on the other hand, what it can also be, because the energetic images have multiple layers of meaning, right, on both the shadow side and the light side. So the light side is ascending in consciousness. On the shadow side, what I feel we have here is an element that has been present among humanity and is attempting to stair-step itself up to come along with us. But look what happens, okay? We're here. And it's going to be very difficult for this element to stair-step itself up with us one-to-one. What's going to happen is it's going to have its own soul path. Okay, it's going to eventually separate from us. And I'm going to link an article below on this concept of what happens with the reptilian-ish side of our nature from the ancient reptilian brain, let's say. This is my message to you today, and I've just been so thrilled to be able to discuss this with you. Now, what I'd like to do is show you the next thing. I want to have with you an inspired energy discussion about the mind. And the reason it's so interesting, I was just going through this with a couple of people this morning, and then I look at the chart, and it's like perfect. It's like this is the perfect discussion to have. So I'm just so joyful with you guys here today, and I hope that you guys are feeling that also. Okay, now I want to talk about the mind and how the mind can assist us or limit us on the ascension path. And keep in mind that although people tend to call this ascension, I view it as ascension, descension, because like I said, you can't have a computer with only the zeros or only the ones, only ascension without descension. So if you're planning on staying in your body and embodying the ascension frequencies, right? Which simply means that you lift your consciousness to a more expanded state than you were at previously. That's what that means, okay? And in part, how we do this is the higher self ends up descending into the body, and then we have a new higher self. That is, it's like a stream of energy, okay? So then what's now our higher self is an even more expanded state than we have in the physical form. And that higher self is kind of like the us between us and soul, right? Because we are incarnated souls. So it's like the soul representative that we can commune with. Because, anyway, I've told stories about communing with the soul. It's quite something, okay? It's quite something, and it's so powerful, and the soul is so sensitive to our free will choices that I think, the higher self is sort of the part of that can interact with us as a householder, right? As a day-to-day human living life. So the interface for us. So basically so that's the descension part, right? That expanded energy descends into the physical human form. We don't have to leave to ascend, right? I can ascend in my body. Hey, I'm staying. I want to know what it looks like to be a human with a more expanded consciousness and what I can create now. I mean, the stories that I have heard from people who are doing this, like regular people that you've probably heard of who are doing this, it's just phenomenal, okay? So basically, here's what I want to address about the mind. So when we are in this state of experiencing an expanded consciousness, and we're getting downloads, or maybe we're creating from this state, and we're feeling very connected, okay, with the woo-woo, or really what it is. The woo-woo, what that is, it's the living divine force, okay, that human beings can interact with and experience. That is what the woo-woo is, okay? That is what the woo is. And so basically, from my perspective, what happens is it's very amazing, right? It's very expanded. And you can even have situations where you're seeing like these kind of geometric patterns in energy, or however you experience it. Some people feel, some people know. We all have our unique way of experiencing an expanded state of consciousness. But what happens is that our mind tends to come in and and limits us. So that's the first thing, and I want to talk specifically about that, so that you can make conscious choices about how you want to interact with your mind. And then the second thing is that the challenge is to bring this into physical form, right? Bring our expanded consciousness into our physical form as human beings, okay? Something very amazing and wonderful and beautiful. So here's what happens, okay? The mind is essentially our interface. It's a version of an interface between the soul that we are in human form and the human world around us, that we perceive around us. And in the mind, its key number one thing is to protect us and to ensure our survival, okay? And so what happens is that if the mind perceives that we are going off in a direction that it does not understand, and it does not understand how you will be safe with these new topics, or with this embodying this new energy, what will happen is the mind will just rise up and start to say things to us like, this isn't safe. If I do this, people will criticize me. If I do this, I'm taking a huge risk. If this, that, and the other thing, I mean, your mind will come up with something that's, different than my mind will, or anyone else's mind will, but it's all in the general category of, how do I say safe? And the mind's default is that staying safe equals aligning with your society that you live in. And this has developed over thousands and thousands of years to keep us safe, to keep us in herds and communities where it's safer in a community, right, than being out on your own in the wilderness by yourself. If you're in a community of people, you're safer. And if you're in a community of people, you need to know how to get along. And therefore, societal norms get established, culture gets established, and the mind says, I've got to stay with that to keep me safe. So that screaming feeling that you might be getting of like sometimes as I've gone through this process, it's just been like this screaming fear, like, what are you doing? How will I be safe? Bringing this woo-woo, this spiritual, this expanded dimensional state, these downloads into my living life as a human being. So what I have done is I have given direction to my mind, because I can think of my mind. I am the living soul, okay, in the body, and the mind is sort of a app developer for me, okay, an application developer. You might hear the rain in the background right now, but so here's what I tell the mind. I tell the mind, this is safe for me because this is the process that I am creating. If I do this process, X, Y, and Z follow. And this is why that is safe for me, okay? And then I tell myself, I tell my mind that my soul will, has priority. My soul is me as a soul. I am the master in my own energy field. I am the master of me, of myself, okay? My soul directs me, guides me, and protects me. So I give my mind, right, very specific instructions. And maybe master is not a good word. Maybe authority. My soul is the authority. Yeah, that sounds better, because the soul doesn't view itself in hierarchy with me. Ooh, this is interesting. Yeah, so maybe that's an old term that we can just put in the circular file. I heard of people doing that, and it didn't make sense to me. But now that we're talking about it, it completely makes sense, because there's no hierarchy between the soul and the human. The soul views the human that I am as its equal in a way. Okay, as its equal, it fully respects me. Now, of course, the soul is an aspect of the creator, and from what I've peeked in there, whoa, it's incredible, okay? I'm not an equal in terms of being a living, I don't know what to say. Don't take that the wrong way. How I'm an equal is that the soul respects my decision-making and my choice to live life. It respects me and won't interfere with that. That's basically it, okay? Unless there are agreements at a higher level between me and my soul. So yes, my soul will save me if I'm in a car crash. My soul has saved me. And I didn't, I didn't specifically say, soul, as this is happening, I want to live. But I know that is, I know what my orientation is. My soul knows me, knows what I want to achieve in my life and creates that outcome for me in co-creation with me. Oh my God, this is such amazing stuff, isn't it? So this is what I want to say, is that the mind will tell you to align with society's norms. And what you do is you explain to your mind why pursuing the path that you have been guided from within the spirit by God, by the creator, by the soul that you are, okay, within a meditative state of centeredness, you came to this. And I'm not talking about emotions or mental. I'm talking about that pure connection, the impulse, the conscience, however you connect with yourself inside, okay? But every human has a conscience. You just know sometimes, this is what I'm meant to do. So you have that conversation with your mind, and your mind will begin to let go, and you'll establish new levels of trust with yourself.